him focusing on this, telling us we are going to create industries that will cater for this market. Yeye anatuambia venye atatu export kwenda Saudi Arabia. He is not focusing on the real thing. And what you've said is he has super incompetent people in power with him who are not professionals. They cannot even advise him right. They don't have the know-how to do that will bring about industrialization in our country. In Portugal, when I was visiting this Bosch factory, tulienda pia kwa vocational training schools, which are practical, but there the vocational training colleges are free. They're funded by the EU. So what happens when someone finishes grade 9? You have two options. Either you go to high school or vocational training, you become a mechanic, you mechatronic engineer, you become any, these blue collar jobs, so that you can go and work in companies like Bosch, and you go and do other technical jobs. But in Kenya, everyone is aiming towards the university. It doesn't make sense. You see technical, vocational training, and those are the drivers of they're the economy basically. But hakuna industries za watu kuwa.
And it is so shameful that we have very incompetent, it is so shameful. These are the times that as a Kenyan you feel that you don't even want to tell people that you are a Kenyan. It is that you take someone who is a class 8 dropout and you give them a fucking whole ministry. They don't even know what to do. They don't even know what to do. They don't even know they don't even know the policies that they're supposed to put there to make sure combat things work. As it is right now, even people are observing well. The country is headed to the right. Finya na tufinye jinsi tunavyofinya. Peace, we're going to head in the right direction. Now, the youth of this country, na ningependa sana niweze kuongea na vijana wa nchi ya Kenya. I'm speaking to you from a position of know-how. This is the time that Kenya is facing a revolution that is very peaceful and with a little blood that is going to be shed. It pains me that kuna vijana ambao wanaitwa mahali usiku, wanapewa shilingi 1,000 kwa bwana, kesho the people are going to the streets, let's make sure riot, let's make sure hawasemi chenye wanataka kusema. You're being used by a leader who gave your mom 50 bob or a packet of unga to vote for them. If you divide that 50 bob with 5 years, how much is it? How much is it? Yani inauma sana kwamba kama kijana watu wamejitokeza, they start making changes in this country. But where they give you 1,000 bob and you sell your soul for 1,000 shillings. Yet we are fighting for something that's going to change the future of this nation. I've never seen an incompetent government like the one we have right about now. I am in the media industry. I've been in the media industry for about 18 years right now. The Kenyan governments have refused to pay money owned by these media houses. Media Max is suffering. Raw Media Services is suffering. Even international media houses are suffering because of very policies that have been put up by these regimes. Na hii government ya sasa ndio yani inachoma kila siku, na unapata vijana ambao wamesoma, wana akili, wanafikiria, they accept peanuts and they start blogging for the state. Yet what we are fighting for is going to even help them and their children and their future generations, you know. Sometimes unaona mtu kama Mutai Abraham anaongea kitu najiuliza, is this guy normal? Doesn't he know that we are fighting for a common good for this country, you know? And every not get a chance to speak in any forum. Yani MP yoyote amekuja kwenu hata anaweka mkutano anataka kuongea, tufinye asiongee if at all they've not done any development in that area. The promises they made while we were voting for them, kama hawajafanya hata moja, they should not be allowed to speak. This country needs to be very hot for these ministers and cabinet secretaries and MPs, governors. It doesn't matter the side of the political divide. Teachers, doctors, even police officers, for heaven's sake. Yet we have issues that are disturbing us in this country. So my fellow youth, tafadhali tufinye mahali ambayo inahitajika, tufinye pressure mpaka wajue kwamba we are the people that are in charge, we are the people that have power. And let's make sure we take votes. Nda uchukue kura. Chukua kura, kana silaha yako. Ikifika 2027, even if itampatia UMP, tujue kwamba ni mamboga tumempa, na atakuwa accountable to the citizens and they'll do what they're supposed to do. What has happened in the recent past, people have loyalty to the party leader and the party. They don't have loyalty to the people who elected them. Unaanza kuringia watu kwamba Mungu amekusaidia umepata gari. Yet it is our taxes ambazo tunalipa zinaporwa, zinaibiwa, alafu unakuja unaturingia. Unasema una vote yes kwa sababu president amesema. Did the president vote for you? It's a fucked up country. It is so painful.
1,000 times again.
My fellow youth, kindly listen
We'll
to me
rise up.
and listen good. Tafadhali, chukua kura. Make sure kwamba ikifika mwaka 2027 tunapeleka viongozi wote nyumbani, wote. Usitumike kuzima azma ya Wakenya ambao wakati wake umefika.
Asante.
Thank you so much.
Today, every day I receive tons and tons of messages from heartbroken young men. You read this message, 2-year-old person, yet that council is supposed to be run, the secretary is supposed to be a young person, 35 years and below. People know about National Youth Council. Yet hii kitu inaendelea kukula pesa ya serikali kila siku. Hakuna mtu anaongelea hiyo kitu. Tunanyamaza tu, watu wakikula pesa, wakienda wakipewa budget, wakitumia pesa siku 2-3, hizo ndio pesa wanapeana huku kina Shalini wakikimbia nayo huku. Wakisema wanasaidia vijana. Youth Council need to be transform transformed ikuwe ya vijana. What about there? All right.
Yeah, perfect. Hi guys, my name is Goofy. I am a performing poet and filmmaker based in Nairobi, Kenya. Essentially, I'm an entertainer, and the thing that I need you guys to know is we have a history of forgetting real fast. But the good thing about art is art uses whoever is there to document the times, to cement history and document anything that cannot be published. And we have musicians, we have poets, we have filmmakers. And the one thing that I noticed about this revolution is everyone off guard, especially the leaders. But us as the people, we knew it was brewing, we knew it was coming, we just didn't expect it to be this soon. The thing that I want to say is we should not forget people have been shot, they're dead, some have been buried, some are still in jail, some have injured right now is Ruto is listening to the people while he's not. The space does not, to other people in other African countries, it looks like he's reaching out to us, but in essence, we know what is happening. He is just milking it dry so that the PR works for him. But we should not forget, whatever is being said here is we should go get our votes. We should educate ourselves on these things because we have the power. There's nothing that, and we are united right now. The June 25th, uh, a poem. This is called To Live Here. To live here is to live in fear. You don't know if this life is yours. You don't know if you own anything else that isn't your thoughts. Your mind might be the only place that fits, but only if you don't people than the ones who took them here. We wish, but they too are being cut down here. Trees wish we could speak, but we too are being gunned down here. We forget names like Willie Kimani. Babe, here, you can be shot whether you are a lawyer, a taxi driver, or unauza nyama pare gara here. If you are a young man aged 19 to 22 who likes wearing faded jeans that are torn on the knees and seemingly a good OD dancer, you'll be shot here. Your death won't mean a thing to a police unit that's funded by your taxes here. Body bags have more work than the youth of this place here. The country eats its own people. 1 minute you're with them, the next you're dead and gone. A moment of silence for Evans Njoroge. To live here is to embody Koleka Putuma. Collective amnesia stays within us. Here, we forget to count after every 5 years. Here, leaders manipulate the votes and pass it out as the voice of the people. People with no voices, people with no choices, people with no health care, no security, or an average life standards. Here, the only cues we respect are the ones found along tribal lines. Here, we are one. Foolish people here. Thieves use their loot as manifestos to kickstart their careers here. Thieves appear in top 30, 40, and 50, and the top 30, 40, and 50 here. Golf gets more funding than the education kitty. To live here is to constantly think of death. Here, you have to look right, then left, then right, then left, while constantly think of death. Here, you can get a brain surgery when you checked in with a cold. Here, cartels run a hospital. Here, criminals own a hospital. Here, rapists have a hospital. Here, you have to light a candle after the many deaths we invite into our lives. Here, we are experts in instant rage, but amateurs in following up. Here, we forget more what hurts us as a people and always remember the silly stuff. Here, we are comfortable with heavy taxation, a rogue police unit, suppression of free speech, unequipped hospitals, corrupt officials, a dormant constitution, selective human rights, a fast ending forest cover, privately owned killer dams, deaths upon deaths and deaths upon deaths. This is the life we live, and the people they've killed. I'm going to say their name: Rex Masai, Dr. Margaret, Evans Kiratu, Franco Koth. Their name: Eric Sheni, Emmanuel Tata, Ibrahim Kamau, Kennedy Onyango. I've said your names, and these are the ones we know. We live as Kenyans fighting for your spirit, fighting for your life until we get a better Kenya. To live here is to live in fear, but we don't have to live in fear. We have the power. Tutafinya mpaka Zakayo ashuke. Thank you.
Right, all right. Thank you very much. I really, really promote artists. I respect artists because civics, social ethics, psychology. The reason why these subjects, the establishment calls them useless subjects, is because these are the subjects that promote citizen awareness, they sensitize citizens, they awaken them, they unite them because they call you to your spirit. The protestation that we've been experiencing the last 3 weeks is because we have joined together as a generation through a spirit of liberation. We want to liberate ourselves from the chains of tyranny. We want to liberate ourselves from the imperialism in parliament. We want to liberate tearless, callous, stone-hearted, cold-hearted, no-hearted. They steal our resources every day. They steal our taxes. And when you ask them, they shoot you. They buy bullets, but they can't buy food. They buy tankers, but they can't buy water tanks. Our children are struggling. Our mothers are pained. Our fathers are hopeless. While these callous politicians sit in big hotels, and even they have hotels in the parliament so that they can eat. After vomiting on us, then they vomit again and vomit again. And when you ask them why they are vomiting, they diarrhea on you through reckless and callous statements. They don't care about you. They don't care about us. They care about nothing. go begging for justice. Yes, we are citizens. Listen to us. Don't kill us. You can beat us with a stick, but we shall stick together. Behind us, they will be asking us, Father, Mother, we gave you this future. What did you do with it? The future does not belong to me and you. The future belongs to those behind us. It is them that have given us this future so that we take care of it on their behalf. And when they are adults, they will ask us, you let us down. Daddy, Mommy, you let us down. You didn't fight for us. We don't have a future. We don't have a country. They will be looking at our country and say, here lies the ruins. Here lies a country that used to be called Kenya. Looted, dehydrated by the powers that be. If we don't build together, in a spirit of liberation, going to the street in protestation, it's time to mobilize our energy. Whatever you do, whatever thing you are, whoever you are, it's time to mobilize our energy. We need to drain the swamp because the swamp cannot sustain our future anymore. The swamp is polluted by rats, snakes, and toads, crocodiles, parasites. We must, no matter how many days it takes, your mic is off.
We've never seen this kind of movement before because it is just very purely organic and stemming from all sections of the country. So it's not centered on anyone. So every one of us, part of the movement, because we are so many things happening in the last few weeks. We've had protests can be about a thing, protest something, but this movement bigger than the protests because it's not even about the youth that have been on the streets. art is going to play a major role in this movement. Like we saw today, the concert was a very nice example of how art can play a very major role in any kind of movement, because we have to bring out our creative side, because that is what they try to suppress first, because they have to suppress your creative side. They have to suppress the things that make you who you are. So instigate malls into the movement. We've seen many things happening. So right now, the truth, so much is going on. It might be a bit confusing for some of us. The information overload might be getting to us a bit, but you have to stay focused, because in every movement, there's always going to be pushback from whoever you're demanding accountability from. In this case, we're demanding accountability from the state, not for one thing. We are demanding accountability for many things. And so the situation has become so complicated that it a complete turnover of everything. So you cannot try to shift this space. They are social media users. We had Billy speak some moments earlier, very esteemed journalist, a man we all know him very well. But this movement cannot be pinned down into one thing or one leader or one. The people here, I'm sure the people here, they were part of this movement from the beginning. So there are people who are 100% true and true movement. So we made a good point. Accept petty cash from the state to push agendas. But the main point here is we have to stay focused. So we saw the state will always try to infiltrate any movement against them, as we've seen time immemorial in Kenya. If you follow this account, you've seen today a video we posted today about the anti-government movement in the 90s. So we saw people like Koigi Wamwere getting arrested on trumped-up charges. We saw the state clamping down really hard on any kind of dissent. So that will always happen. In this case, the movement started on social media. That's where it started. So we saw recently, some guys are saying to stay focused. So this will stay focused. So this will always happen. And do not put too much, do not let your heart be demotivated. Do not put too much thought into these things. They will always happen. But the good thing with this movement is no matter what comes at us, no matter how many diversions they try to create within us, it's decentralized. So we will always find a way to move forward. So
Thank you very much.
yeah, just to be clear. So guys, do not that the point the main point of the movement is to stay focused, and we try to find a way forward, which we will eventually.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So before Goofy, the poet, came, I was saying that I receive a lot of messages. I don't know if politicians also receive these messages. Very broken young men. And it's very hard. Let me read some few so that you understand what I'm talking about. There are so many. There are so many. I can't point out on which one I can just pin on. But there are issues of, for example, this one is Victor. He tells me, morning, bro. This was around 8. To be brutally honest, I am hungry. And if you can just help me some little cash, I get something for myself, I'll be. Another one at around 4. Hello, Amerix. I see you are back. Please assist me, sir. I asked him what is his name and number. He gave him the name and the number. And of course, see if I can, how much I can support him, and of course, talk to him and see where he can be assisted. These are the symptoms of structural failure. The system has failed a generation. And if this is not fixed, we're going to have a time bomb. Those young men you saw in the streets, they are going to be a very, very dangerous bomb. The government has to take action. It has to listen to them. Iwasikize. Kwa nini nakataa kuwasikiza? Shida iko wapi? Wakisema cabinet ni mbaya, tuko nayo Kenya, ni watu wa young people. Gen Z na millennials, I think they're around 55%, something like that. Gen Zs are 30 something, 34. The other one's in 21. So why can't you listen to, why can't these politicians of them walivote bill sijui ya nini, I don't know what it was, to allow state officials So niko na hizi messages mingi, na hii ni symptom ya shida tuko nazo kama country. Kuna mwingine ameniambia hapa boma yao ilivunjwa huko Mavoko. Serikali ilivunja boma yao. Sijui iko wapi. Hiyo ni kitu inaniuma sana za Kenya. Mtakaa hapa nitashinda kuwalipa. Mtasema mimi ni toxic employer. So nyinyi afadhali muende mjue tu hatuna kazi. Kuliko mkaenge hapa mna expect niwalipe tarehe 1 na mimi napata pesa tarehe 25. Hakuna vile nitawasaidia. Hata wanaona vile biashara ziko wanasema yenyewe it is true. Daktari Mbiti ako hapa. ako na hospitali ameifunga na amepump hapo I think 18 million shillings, ijamaliza hata 1 year, ameifunga juu ameshindwa kulipa rent. So inabidi sasa hata huyo landlord amerealize huyu sasa akitoka hapa nitapata nani? So imebidi aite Mbiti wakae chini wasikizane vile atalipa rent, because environment ya biashara iko chini. Manufacturing sector, agriculture, na watu hapa wakisema tourism ndio number 1, I don't know, tourist. Hatutaki tourists. Wanatusaidia na nini? Tumekuwa na tourists kuanzia miaka zote. Tumeua our tourist destination, tumegrab land, tumeharibu. Why can't we focus on something like agriculture? Kwa sababu agriculture kwa Waafrika hiyo ndio the basis ya economy. Ukiangalia economy za Africa zina grow because of agriculture. Lakini agriculture na tumewacha, tumepatia kina Bill Gates ndio wana run. Nimewaambia hapa 20 years ago, 30 years ago, Kenya ilikuwa the leading exporter of pyrethrum. Tafadhali mnipatie shilingi 15,000 shule, alafu mkikuja ukatamiwa sasa ya kulipa mkate hiyo 15,000. Somo sako inakupatia pesa. Walio wengi wamesoma na miwa. Saizi hakuna. Ukiangalia the microeconomy of Luyaland imeisha. Yeye tuko na politicians. Na ule mtu anaweza kufanya, tunaanza kumuita ni mwendazimu. Salasia is trying, anajaribu. Hizo madrama zake kando, lakini anajaribu. Because pia ni mtu amegrow na miwa. Saizi Nzoia Sugar hii ya Bungoma ndio ina collapse. Kulikuwa na tobacco industry huko sehemu za Busia huko, Malaba, ilikufa. Sasa kama agriculture inakufa, tutabaki na nini? Tutaenda wapi? Coffee farming. Sasa ukienda Kiambu wanatoa coffee waneka apartments. So unajiuliza hii apartment concrete jungle itatufikisha wapi sisi? What is our future as a country? Zile vitu zenye nafaa tuongelee, zenye zinatuhusu as a country, atuongelei. Tunaongea kuexport sijui nini, tumetengeneza sijui 5,000 jobs kwa ICT wapi. Get zile basics. Unajua tukikosa zile basics, hata hizo zajua hatuwezi. Nani yako na mic aongee? Ogola. Natafuta lawyer Pikiponki Simoni. Willis, please nitumie your request. Nikupatie mic uongee hizo stories za legislation. Willis alikuwa anasema hivi that in the future tuko na legislation yenye president is not part of parliament. Yeye hayuko kwa any political party. Iko kama Singapore. President ni mtu independent. Hayuko kwa political party yoyote. Hiyo itatusaidia. And then the parliamentary elections ikwe kando. Tuseme parliamentary elections zinakuwa kando. After 3 years, bunge anaenda 2 terms, 3 years, akimaliza anaenda. Sasa hizi tuko na bunge, watu ni madinosaur huko. Mtu amekaa bunge 20 years. Ni nini ataleta ya maana ama mpya yenye itabadilisha Kenya? Hakuna. Mtu amekaa bunge 20 years, 25. Wabunge waende 2-3 years, ukifanya kazi poa urudi 3 years uende nyumbani. Upatie mwingine pia opportunity ya kurepresent your constituency kwa bunge. Si wewe peke yako unaweza represent. And then president atoke kwa party, asikwe part of this party politics. Hizi party politics ndio zinafanya saa hizi Rigiji na president hawasikizani because of party politics. So tutoe president asikwe kwa any party. Na akitaka kuongelesha wabunge hawaiti state house, anaenda kwa bunge. Anasema kitu anataka kusema, alafu wabunge wana debate, wana So kitu itaendelea, utapata kila sasa ward itakuwa na party. Hii ward iko na party yake, ile ward iko na party, na zote zinaingia ruling coalition. Hizo ndo zinaharibu demokrasia ya Kenya. Kama nimekupatia mic, ongea, we continue. I'm waiting for Willis atuongeleshe. Kama ametuleta nilikuwa namuona Jimmy Wanjigi pia nataka kuongea, atuombe mambo ya public debt. Sisi tuko na deni this much, lakini yenye tunalipa ni hii. So hii balance hii ni watu wanakula tu, watu wanaweka kwa mfuko.
A fashion house. From these Kenyans who work their back and asses out to make that extra coin. Any place that they can get money, ndo natilia mkazo sana. So when you get a someone like that, and if it's the first time, you start looking for a tax expert, which means you have to pay someone to do that. Putting in mind that you've not even paid the rent for that month, or maybe there are 2 months that you've not paid. So I said, let me just go represent myself. I go explain myself. So when they gave me that fine, I now started giving them evidence that sijalipa rent, sijalipa wafanyikazi. Na ukifika pale unakuuliza maswali, unafanyikazi wangapi, unawalipa pesa ngapi, rent unalipa pesa ngapi? So they calculate the amount of money that they think or they purport that you're making, you know. And the environment is not you know. So how many Kenyans know their rights? And how many Kenyans have been put into debt paying those fines that are very unscrupulous, you know? So ni serikali ambayo inajali yenyewe, you know. And what made the government speak in a good tone after naomba, I don't know if these are facts or just rumors, kwamba kuna mapasta, because very prominent journalists have written you know. If you look at manifestos of these politicians, they are very nice manifestos, but they are not being followed, they are not being implemented. Alafu unatuambia kwamba utatuombea nchi vizuri. How? That's fucked up shit, you know. Like these policies fungua hii, fungua hii, fungua hii. Yet ile joint hosting ambayo tumepewa ya kuhost AFCON tunaweza ikosa kwa sababu hatuna viwanja. Inakuwaje tunakuwa host, tunaweza kupiga boli Zimbabwe? Serious. Such a country inakuwa na kiwanja, sisi kama Kenya hatuna kiwanja. You know how? Yet kuna pesa inatoka FIFA, kuna pesa inatoka kwa taxes za Wakenya na hakuna kitu kinafanyika. You know? And inakuwa tu blame game. I'm challenging sports journalists in this country today, tonight. Speak up, you know, speak up. Speak up and change the industry. Kwa sababu unasikiza mse wa bola anasema footballers have been turned into beggars. Because if a president can come to a space and listen to us, that should count for something. And let's continue pushing until that time that things will work in this country. Otherwise, if we keep quiet, if we keep mum, watazidi kutukalia, watutapikie, maka unajua kwamba watatununua tena ikifika mwaka 2027. So tufinye kabisa mpaka wakati ambapo tutaona kwamba industry na sekta zote zinafanya kazi. And don't say that your voice is small. You don't have to be a big wig on Twitter. You don't have to be someone who's known. Pale katika village yako, yule mbunge wako, yule MCA, yule governor, if they're not doing something right, speak up. Right now, we are heading in the right direction, and tukinyamazishwa hatatoboa. What happened during the last demos is what has been happening throughout independence, kwa sababu unapata kwamba tumeamua kwamba tunampeleka Amerix aende atuongoze kama constituency ya Nyaribari Chache, lakini kwa sababu kuna mtu pale anaitwa Mbaruk ana pesa na labda ana wahuni fulani, the voices of those people that want change zinakandamizwa, alafu wale goons wanafanya wale wapiga kura wakae nyumbani wasipige piga kura, alafu yule mbaya anapita. It was evident juzi wakati Gen Z wametoka, goons wamekuja. Nani aliwaleta? We saw today wametoka concert pale Uhuru Park, wametembea Moi Avenue, wanaimba, wanaenda zao nyumbani. Hawana hooliganism yoyote, you know. So it is so painful to be a Kenyan at this time. It is so painful to talk about it, but we are heading the right direction. Thank you so much. Yeah. Then tujue, how can we restructure? How can you regroup and tushinikize serikali itusikie, kwa sababu
You can be a co-host. I've added Ombachi. I have added Kenya's #1 hater, Kaido. accept and then come and talk to us. I see we have, right, thank you very much. Yes, Billy, I've given you a mic, you can talk. Right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. If you have a mic, you can go on. If you requested to speak, you know, the requests are many, I think 100 and something. So if you requested to speak and confirm if I've approved and start talking, so we don't waste time. Gaido?
Americs, they look like the listeners from my side.
They look like the
Gaidho.
what?
The listeners, they're still listeners. Bado ni listeners, hawajakuwa speaker kama Gaidho. Hata umbali.
Unaweza ninyang'anya speaker so that at least wakuwe na space ya kupata the mic. Okay. So you can drop me from the speakers list.
All right, let me do that. I've done that. I've removed you from the speaker. Remove. Billy, are you still there as the speaker?
Yeah, I'm still seeing myself as a speaker.
Okay. Just a minute as I invite, I remove these ones. Are you still a speaker? All right, Francis Gaido, I've sent right, Ochieno, Willis. I think it's now sorted.
Testing 1 2. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go on.
Amerix, nice. Thanks for inviting me. Sorry, I'm late. Yeah, and I would want to carry on with your point about the collapsing industry. You were talking about the sugar belt. You were talking about all the companies and all the outgrower farms which were supporting small holder, farmers and whatnot. And being from Thika, I have the same kind of experience. So Thika was an industrial town. It used to be called the Birmingham of Kenya. So there were all these companies, especially in the textile industry. There was KTM, there was what, and so because of the structural adjustment programs, they came with some malicious or notorious or mischievous attachments or riders that you must liberalize, you must open your market cheap imports, and that's how the Mutumba sector grew. And so we are here glorifying the Gikomba industry and whatnot. We are glorifying them because of importing second-hand clothes. But essentially, the only reason why new clothes or brand new clothes are expensive in Kenya is because of taxes, is because of the environment which has made it unconducive to produce. So it goes the entire chain. They dropped all the subsidies, all the all the incentives they used to give to farmers because they could no longer sustain, no longer, not just on the production. So I've seen Thika move from being, that semi-urban, plush town into being just another, shithole town. Because of that, because of the parliament. Our problem begins and ends with parliaments when they talk about these structural adjustment programs. You look at when the World Bank and IMF started implementing that, they then created this committee. It was called a privatization committee. And then there was the Ndegwa family. You guys think so highly about the Ndegwa family because they own NIC and NCBA. But if you look, their father, who was once a central bank governor called Philip Ndegwa, was the chairman of that privatization commission or committee that was formed in conjunction with the World Bank and the IMF, so that we can be part of these structural adjustment programs, conditionalities for us to access loans so as to bridge the deficit that has been created by bad governance. So Philip Ndegwa becomes the chairman of the privatization commission. What does he first do? Anajichotea pesa zake. He first grabs a few companies. There was Nairobi Airport Services called NAS. There were many other companies which were grabbed during that period. But then you'll realize that the World Bank is hiding behind some of these government officials, and then they make it as if that, we are selling these parastatals to clear our debt. But no, it is them who are grabbing. So during that period is when we saw the privatization of companies like Kenya Power. If you look at Kenya Power, since it was privatized, has our power bills, have they been cheaper or more? So the privatization was just a hoodwink. It was just a scam crafted for a few elites like Mamangina to grab our state-owned corporations. Look at Safaricom. During the same period, we had the Kenya Post and Telecommunications Corporation. Then, because of some mambo jumbo and magic over here, we were told it must be privatized. And so Safaricom was a department under the Kenya Post and Telecommunications Corporation. You understand? And that's where we have these clowns like Gideon Moi owning Mobitelea, 5% of Safaricom, given for free, under the guise that Vodafone is the one which is buying it. But Vodafone was giving 5% to Gideon Moi as a bribe because of acquiring Safaricom, which was a department of Kenya Post and Telecommunications Corporation. Look at something like Kenya Airways. We were told and we were fashioned. I remember I was reading the newspapers, I was very young, and they told us that privatization is a quick fix panacea, that let's get the golden handshake, and being stupid as they are, and even today they are still very stupid, they signed themselves up for a suicide. And so Kenya Airways, which was a fully state-owned corporation, has changed hands. It was sold first to KLM, and then there was this partnership between KLM, and then what they did is, now when they got to now the worst those countries. They sold that slot to bridge the deficit about debt that we don't know how it was incurred. We don't know how Kenya Airways got broke. We don't know how Kenya Airways got into debt, but somehow we have, because that is, your landing slot is almost like debt. If we are talking about it, we are not just limiting ourselves to the debt. We are looking at the atrocities committed at the turn of the 80s to the 90s, where now that character, that clown called Philip Ndegwa, who was a central bank governor, who you guys are shamelessly praising today because they are rich, because you guys, your self-esteem has been suppressed. You are praising that clown, saying that they are rich, but they themselves stole their wealth is accrued. I used to read articles that Philip Ndegwa is rich. He was the first Kenyan to bank 1 billion. How are you banking 1 fucking billion? You have no manufacturing them, hey, can you tell us how you acquired this money? Because there was I used to read those silly, nonsensical stories by somebody like Jenga Karume. Jenga Karume says, I used to sell charcoal. Who the fuck would believe that charcoal would make you a billionaire? Those are not, unless you're exporting that charcoal to Mars or to Jupiter as an alternative energy source. But we've been fed with lies. We've been fed with cock and bull stories pushed by the mainstream checks and balances. Suddenly they are billionaires and they are being praised. They are being worshipped by the church. We have the corrupt clergy. I see people are calling them kilaji. But this is the historical injustices that we have, especially from the economic front. It has to be all the companies that were grabbed by people hiding behind the narrative of privatization. The people who hid behind the narrative of a golden handshake. People were told, hey, you take a golden handshake, you'll go home. And by the time those guys were taking a golden handshake and leaving state-owned corporations, which were permanent and pensionable, they went to the villages and went to rot there to die. So this is, now we get to the sugar belt. Amerix was talking about it. He has grown up from there. His family has, I'm from the coffee sector. The coffee sector has supported me. Somehow it collapsed. And you are talking right now, you go to Kiambu Road right now, all the coffee is being chopped down, is being turned to real estate. Why? Because of structural deficiencies created by these fucking members of parliament, the guys we are entertaining, the guys you guys think are gods or something. They go and pass laws which are passed or which are crafted or which are conjured somewhere, and then they come and now start cooking narratives and telling you what. I was telling you about sugar. There was this clown called Ivan Skidero. Ivan Skidero, by the time he became the Mumias Sugar CEO, he is from the sugar belt, but the interests of the farmers were the last thing on his mind. He wanted. By the time he got there, he went to maneuver his way into getting import licenses so that they induce closures of the main sugar production, Sony, Mumias, and whatever, so that when they are shut down, they've been shut down under the guise of, oh, we have maintenance and whatnot. I think you used to see those whatever. Then they would import. Now, those sugar import licenses used to be approved by of the destruction of the sugar industry. And I don't understand how you guys still worship them. How do you allow an idiot like Bonnie Kalawale to address you in a funeral or in a whatever? How? Because he has been part of the destruction of the sugar sector. The sugar sector in the coffee sector in Mount Kenya has been destroyed by none other than fucking MPs from Mount Kenya region. So our problem begins and ends in parliament, but parliament has been an extension of the executive. And so what you needed to do, you just needed to go to treasury. You meet the bureaucratic pieces of shit in the treasury. You tell them, oh, this is how much you're getting. Can you sneak this amendment into the finance bill? And so finance bills every year, and what you used to call the budgets, became an overhaul of our entire economic structure. So they used to go and coincidentally, believe it or not, I used to be close with the PS of Treasury many years ago called Joseph Kenywa. And one day I met him at his house and I told him, can we do a proposal for football? So we wanted, because my background is football, and we wanted to launch our sporting renaissance on the model of Britain, so that the government kind of like co-guarants the building of infrastructure. And I gave him the proposal, and then he organized a meeting for me at Treasury. And spoke to them, and instead of doing my projects the way I had presented it, because it would have created a lot of jobs for the young people and we wouldn't be having the problem today, what did they do? They passed a law using my proposal where every constituency got 1 million shillings for football. I'm seeing some MPs who are in office at the time, they will tell you they got 1 million shillings for every constituency for football. Want to get rid of, and we want to start with central bank. We have to start with the Ministry of Energy and other places where World Bank and IMF have seconded their stooges, their surrogates, to implement policies that are going to start. So I'm bitter because I can see our Kenyans. I saw Bonnie Kalawale with some young people, and he's the one who has been there with Akina Kidero and Akina Waluke. They were destroying the sugar subsector, and so we are dependent on importation. Like now, there was this Galana Kulalu, which has consumed a lot of money. They have only harvested, I don't know, only 100 bags since 2009. Where has that money been going to? These are glaring corruption undertakings by the people who you then now come to worship in church. They come and donate money. They come with words of cash. And you guys are just there worshiping them. You guys are there worshiping them because they are driving big cars. You have to understand that our oppression is intertwined with the current political establishment. So we need to overhaul everything. I saw some of you useless bastards. You have no shame, and you're saying Matiang'i. Matiang'i is the scandals. He's been there in the Roraka land scandal. He created this CBC, which has messed us up, and you are there without any honor or shame saying, yeah, Matiang'i, because you've been paid a few shillings. Come on, man. The same way we are dealing with Osama because of betrayal is the same way we are going to be dealing with you when you're making some psychotic and deluded proposals like Matiang'i for presidency. We're not moving behind. We are moving forward. This whole thing is one big charade. Our companies which had employed our people. And so I would see people, because you are used to your parents having money. You are used to your parents having money to pay your school fees, your hospital, and whatever. And then suddenly they've lost their jobs. You don't understand why they lost their jobs. But they used to work in this. They used to work in Mumias. They used to get a job. They used to work, and you used to also get healthcare attached to your parents. And somehow I would see people sinking into depression. And then what was the other solution that the boomers at the time came up with. Oh, let's immigrate. So all of them, let's go to America, let's go to Britain, let's go to where? But how long shall we run away from self-manufactured problems? Because you elect thugs, you elect idiots. These idiots then go and steal your money. You understand it's a chain and you are part of it. You are an active participant. So the thing here is we in our pursuit for progress, in our pursuit to overhaul this entire system, we are looking at Ruto. Ruto must fall. That is guaranteed, whether we like it or not. He is going to fall because we have decided as a people that he is not he's not serving our interests. Anytime we have given an opportunity for him to speak in the media, to rise to the occasion, to tower above his parochial interests, he has gone on and to let us down. He's saying the dumbest shit. He's asked, hey, can we do this? Can we do that? He doesn't do anything. He says the worst thing. He has no sense of occasion. So we have agreed that he must go, whether it's 2027 or before, I don't know. It's the people to decide. But in the meantime, just look at the historical patterns from when World Bank started implementing the structural adjustment programs in the 1990s. The people who grabbed our companies. So when we are talking about audit, and I saw some audit committee made, it's just a mockery. These guys are insulting our collective intelligence. That those guys, they've put the most irrelevant of guys, they put the most useless of guys, because any committee that is talking about an audit without Okia Omtata and Jimmy Wanjigi is just a spectacular waste of time. So because we have detected the insincerity of these useless bastards, they have no intention of even meeting any of our requirements because they have not done anything so far. They are talking about reshuffling, and we are saying all these CSs, PSs, heads of department, all of them need to go because they are not ready to undertake such a purge. Then you structure your mind into a reality, a future, whether it will be 2027 and beyond, that we are overhauling the entire establishment. And when we are auditing, we are not just auditing the loans that Uhuru stole, because Uhuru must have stolen like 4 trillion shillings alone. We are not just auditing that. We are auditing where the problem started, and the problem started at the turn of the 80s to the 90s, where they grabbed our parastatals, which had employed our parents. Our industries, flagship industries, collapsed because of what? Tourism used to earn us foreign exchange. Coffee used to earn us foreign exchange. Pyrethrum, Sisal, everything, textile industry, nothing, everything was collapsed so that we can favor a bunch of useless bastards called importers. And those
Yes.
importers, sorry, Americs, give me 1 minute. Those importers are the ones who are the authors. They are the orchestrators of our misfortune as Kenyans. And we must, because they have the power to influence policy, they have the power to influence laws. Your MPs go to the toilets, they are bribed with 10,000 shillings. Can you imagine a member of parliament being bribed with 10,000 shillings? He's on a payroll of 1 million. He has fuel allowance, he has everything, and he's being paid 10,000 shillings in the toilets of parliament to change the laws that is going to affect you. Come on, I'm going crazy over here. Sorry, Americs. I apologize if I went overboard. I'm sorry.
It's a citizen assembly, so you are allowed to say whatever you want to say. Our common goal is one, our spirit is one, that we must overhaul the establishment. We must drain the swamp, because the swamp has been infested by crocodiles, pests, snakes. If there are people we need to pray for, they're the Kenyan journalists. The other day, I was reading an article that journalists at Standard have not been paid for 8 months. It is really, really heartbreaking. You can imagine a journalist is supposed to wear very good clothes. He or she must wear a very friendly face so that they can come on your screen and give you a story of a politician stealing money. And this journalist has nothing in the house, has not paid rent, doesn't know how they will go back. They have a car, yes, but they will park that car at their company parking lot. Then they will pick a matatu, go to the house. The other day, a journalist committed suicide. And we kept on asking ourselves, how can a journalist commit suicide? They look like they are happy. They go everywhere. They fly abroad. But the people who are facing the brunt of this economic decline, they are the journalists. And if a journalist is not empowered economically, they will not tell the true story. We might bash them. We might say all that we have about journalists and what they write. But just take time and sit with one. You'll cry. 8 months without a salary. And you expect that journalist to come in the morning, sit in a radio station, and tell the stories of the country. That is not possible. Our economy is declining. And as a people, if we don't stand up for our economy, we are done. Because it appears our president looks like a captive of other forces. The other day, UK did its election. They removed the World Economic Forum puppet and put there another puppet. They have jumped from a frying pan to the fire. Because this current puppet, the current prime minister, is the one who has been going around the world telling people about green energy and things like those. But goes to those meetings in a private jet. Ombachi, welcome.
Asante sana. First of all, thanks Gaido. Gaido, you know, watu wengi si ubash Gaido hapa hivi Twitter, but he was amongst the first guys na yesi wa kwanza. Hiyo movement tayari ilikuwa imeanzanga TikTok a while back, but Gaido ndo amongst the first people hii stuff ilianza kufesta upon them. But mimi sina mingi ya kusema. Mimi I usually judge events based on history and the probability of them repeating themselves again. Na kulingana na the recent events zimekuwa zikihappen ETL na hii historia ya Osama ya betrayal kulipwa. So yes, but you should not be given any self-importance. Wewe fanya kazi yako kwa sababu umeamua kufanya kazi yako because you're fighting because of what you believe. See it in the agenda, it's just facts. Maybe you mean well, but at this point you can't take chances. We already know from history what has happened in Osama. It will deflate movement. As much as ataki kuadmit, ilikuwa momentum kidogo, but the good thing about it is it told us there are Trojan horses, ama there will be more Trojan horses in future. Wenye saizi bado si Trojan horses. Kuna watu bado wakilipo watadu the same thing. So why not? Watu wamekuwa wakilipo kufanya vitu kama hizi before. Sisi tulikuwa nafuatia retro players, gari li change union, watu the same walikulipa ndo walituambia. So when sell out. Hata hii cost, sijui umepatiwa cost ya nini hapa hivi. This is what is wrong with our society. Tunajaribu tunajifanya tunafaitia what is right, but the same people who are fighting for what is purported to be right are not right. Nyakundi, wewe na Alai, kaeni kando. Nyinyi mko group moja. Kama mnapigana for what is right because it's right, it's good, we welcome you. But we won't waste our time and resources watching you guys while you're on our safe side. Heri tujue nyinyi ni wabaya, hata kama mnafanyia kitu mzuri. Tukipatana huko mbele, tukisha achieve goals zetu, tutakaa chini to celebrate pamoja. Lakini as for now, there's less the movement tuache kupatia people who've had a history of being turncoats and audience. Tafadhali, mimi hata sina hati advice mingi. Mimi sasa ni kuambiana tu ukweli hapa hivi. Moving forward, kama mtu amekuwa na issue ya integrity, na integrity ndo one of the things, corruption ndo ati tuko kwa street watu wanakufa tunaandamana. Wewe kazi yako ni kupatiwa pesa na politicians, unakanyagia stories zenye zingetusaidia mpaka hatungefika penye tuko hapa hivi. Alafu kwa hapo unataka kujifanya tunafaitia watu. Sikuchukii by the way, mimi hata grudge, mimi siyekangi grudge. Mimi ni mtu mimi ucheka tu na inaisha. Cause najua ndakupata hapa mbele na nimekupata leo. So, stop the pretense. Hata jitoe tu co-host, wewe usikize kama watu wengine. Enda maandamano kule tiagas kama raia kawaida. Wacha kujifanya leader, you are not a leader, you are a sellout.
Mr. Mbachi.